What's up, guys? In today's video, you're going to watch this inspiring and life-changing interview I had with Ron Banks, a poet, content creator, minimalist, and vegan. In this interview, we talked about what minimalism really means to him and the benefits this lifestyle can bring into your life. Ron, first off, thank you very much for accepting my invitation to this interview. Thank you very much for making time for it as well, because I know that you have so many things going on in your life. You have this amazing channel, and the content that you have been, my friend, producing is top-notch. Honestly,
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of yours, as I told you. But I'd like you to introduce yourself to my audience, okay? To my followers, to my subscribers, please do it.
Okay. Well, first I want to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you reaching out to me and asking to do this interview. I'm looking forward to it. But a quick introduction of me. My name is Ron Banks. Like you said, I'm 26 years old. I'm a content creator. I'm a poet, a minimalist, and I'm also a vegan. So I love content creating. I love writing poetry. And I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting conversation around those topics.
So my first question here, just for us, of course, to get the whole thing started is, how would you define, because a lot of people out there, Ron, don't know what minimalism is.
Right.
It's a very complicated topic for so many people because they think that minimalism has to do with, let's say, giving up everything in your life and live a very, very, very simple life. But it's not that exactly, Of course, it goes beyond, of course, giving up certain things. But I'd like you to define minimalism to us.
Exactly. Well, the way I would define minimalism is I would define it as a tool. It's something that we use in our lives. When we think about fixing a car or fixing something that falls apart in your house, you grab your toolbox, you grab your tool bag, and you pick the tool you need for that situation. So I look at minimalism as a tool that we're using in our life for various areas of our life. So if you feel that you feel cluttered or overwhelmed in your physical space, your mental space, emotionally, then minimalism is a tool that you can use to be more intentional about some of those things that you keep around and to help you let go of some of those emotions or mental clutter or the physical things that we have in our life, to let go of some of those things and kind of free yourself in all of those different areas. So it's definitely a tool. And I like how you said a lot of people get confused with what it is about or what it means, because when you look it up on the internet, you see everything is white, everything is empty, everything is clean. And so you have this misconception of what it's about because we've taken the true meaning of it and given it a visual that people can relate to, but it's not what everybody can obtain, and it's not that perfect, So it's really, everyone's journey is going to look a little different. All of us are going to use that tool differently. But as long as you're being intentional about your life, the things that you bring into your life, and then the things that you let go of, then that's really what it's about. Okay, that's a very good definition.
Yeah. I asked you this question, man, because the other day I was talking to a friend about that, and I told him that I would interview a person who's a minimalist, and he said, "Oh, minimalism is kind of boring. It's something really complicated because you have to give up everything. You start selling all the whole things, all the items you have in your home, and so on." I said, "No, it doesn't work like that. It goes beyond that because, as you said, it's totally connected to your soul as well,
right?
Because sometimes, of course, man, we feel overwhelmed, and man, it's a way, as you said, to free yourself. Man, I totally agree with that. I've been trying, of course, to bring minimalism into my life. I don't consider myself one yet, but one day, of course, I intend to achieve this, let's say, this definition. Last week, we were having a conversation, I think 2 weeks ago, in fact, before this interview, and I told you that one of the things that drove me into minimalism was the fact that I made lots of financial mistakes in the past.
Right.
And when you start looking at certain things from a different perspective in your life, and you see how important your peace of mind is.
Yes.
And peace of mind is not connected to possessions. But unfortunately, we have this misconception in life.
It makes us feel as though we have to have these things to feel whole, to feel accepted. And
exactly.
it's almost like a brainwash, and it's controlling our
Man, it
mentality, controlling the
certainly
way we live
is.
our lives. It is.
And man, what motivated you? I told you, actually, I have just said here some
Yeah.
of the things, actually, one big mistake that I had made in life that motivated me to become interested in
Right.
minimalism. But what motivated you to become a minimalist?
You know, the way that I can answer that question would be going back to the three reasons why I started this. Two of those main reasons was one, that I wanted to reinvent myself, and then the second one was that I wanted a new challenge in life. When I initially gave up sports, I don't want to say gave up sports, but when I stopped competing collegiately, and then even after college, I stopped competing in the different sports that I was playing, I was seeking some type of challenge that I wanted to chase after. You know, I've always been physically active. I've always been, challenging myself mentally. But it's like, what else in my life could I challenge? And then the reinventing myself piece comes in because I've talked about this a lot in my videos. There was a persona of myself that I held on to, a nickname that I was given in high school that carried through college. And when I decided to let go of that piece of my life, let go of that nickname, let go of what was attached to that nickname, I had to figure out who I was and what I wanted. And that challenge, the way I wanted to reinvent myself was to see, okay, how can I live with less things? Because I was always attached to having different shoes and upholding this persona and had multiple clothes and always had to look a certain way when I went places. And I was tired of trying to maintain that, number one, financially. And then number two, from my own personal perspective of how I saw myself in the mirror, how I felt about myself, it's like, if I didn't have all of this, who would I be or how would I feel about myself? So that really motivated me to make a change. And then again, when I learned about minimalism, that was a tool that I chose to use to assist me with that change.
Okay. And how long have you been a minimalist?
Oh man, I want to say maybe a little over a year.
Okay.
Officially, a little over a year. I've learned about it and made some slow transitions prior to that, before I really understood what it was about. Because, like you said, I saw it on the internet. I thought it was you had to have nothing in your home and nothing on the walls and things like that. But as I learned more about it, I understood the deeper meaning of it and then how I can apply it to my own life. So officially a little over a year now.
Okay. Okay. And man, my next question now, it's about your country. You live
Yeah.
in, honestly, I think that you live in the most capitalist country in the world.
You
What
can
are
say
the
that.
struggles? What struggles, in fact, do you face being a minimalist living in the US?
Oh man.
You have
Um,
you have the real Black Friday there.
right. We do. And that, you know, I would say I can give you two answers for that. One would be uh, managing the opinions of others. And I've talked about that in one of my videos. I had a video that I posted where I've given 5 struggles of being a minimalist. And managing the opinions of others was one of those struggles. Mainly because, like you said, we're a very consumer heavy country, society. We like things. We like having the newest thing, keeping up with the Joneses, who can impress who the best, right? And when you do something that is opposite of that, or something that is, you know, not what people are expecting you to do, there's going to be some opinions and people are going to have things to say. They're going to wonder why you're doing it or how come you're doing it, or, I can never do that. How come you don't have the newest phone or drive the nicest car and things like that? So one, it'd be managing the opinions of others for sure. And then in addition to that, it's managing how we allow advertisement and marketing for all of these material things to influence us.
Yep.
For example, the newest iPhone just came out around the time that we're doing this interview. The newest iPhone just came out.
Yeah.
And everywhere you look, there's advertisements for the newest iPhone. It's
Okay.
all over social media. It's all over the radio. It's everywhere. And if you allow that to influence you, you're going to be chasing after these materialistic things the rest of your life.
Keeping up with technology today is insane.
It is.
Man, if you do that, man, it's impossible. Exactly.
Exactly.
You have just completely what what I was about to say. That's it. It's impossible. It's impossible. And but we become easy prey. In my personal opinion, we become easy praise. And
Yes.
if you don't, if you're not really careful about the next step you have to take in life, man, you fall into this trap easily, and sometimes without even noticing that you
Oh,
are.
definitely.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
that's a part of the tactic of it, because they want us to
Yep.
feel as though we have to have these things to feel whole or to feel accepted, or you know what I mean. So it's just
Yeah.
you have to be able to manage that and determine and figure out your own thoughts and what you want to do with your life and what you want to consume, and not feel like you have to be told what you have to have.
Exactly, because in the end, your attitude and your personality are the things that will define you as a person. Unfortunately, the great majority of people define themselves based on the things they own.
You're right. And it's a shift we have to make in our own minds, and be willing to stay focused on that in order to, make that change for ourselves.
Yep. And man, and just of course, taking advantage of these comments that we both made here about consumerism, man, what bad consequences, in your personal opinion, does consumerism bring into modern society, my friend?
Oh man. Well, I want to break that down. Let's say if we go a level below that, below society, we're taking on a personal level. I think consumerism can lead to, like you stated earlier, financial decisions. It can be an excessive amount of debt that we can collect because we're trying to have the newest or impress those around us. And even when we can't afford those things, we go to great lengths to get them, and includes going into crazy amounts of debt just to say that we have this or we own that or we can drive this. And it's so that's that level. But if we go right back up to societal level, I would say that a consequence would be an excessive amount of waste, because we collect these things, we buy these things, we maybe use them once, we use them a few times just to say, hey, look at me, I have this, or I can wear this, and you wear it a few times and then it just goes to waste. And we're throwing these things out, and we're, the landfills are filling up with a lot of this stuff. And it creates a much bigger problem than just you not wearing this thing or you not using this thing and just buying it just because. So I think at that level, it's a wasteful thing. But if we go below that to a personal level, it's just an excessive amount of debt, emotional stress, you can say, because you're constantly trying to keep up to feel as though you're accepted.
Great, man. Great. Yeah. And of course, fortunately, as you have become a minimalist, could you just tell us the perks that minimalism has brought into your life? Because we pretty much talked about the bad things regarding, of course, consumerism. And now let's talk about the good things then, okay?
Oh man. Okay. Well, there's two videos that I've posted on my channel talking about this or touching on this topic. And one is using minimalism to build confidence. And then the other one is what minimalism is really about. And within these videos, I talk about how the real meaning of minimalism, outside of it being intentional living, what you're bringing into your life, what you're accepting in your life, it forces you to deal with you and your real issues. And it forces you to accept yourself. So a perk that I've experienced was being able to look at myself in the mirror, know who I am, know what I enjoy, know what I value outside of things. And I'm not allowing the clothes that I wear, the shoes that I have on, or the car that I drive to be what's defining me. All right. And allowing that to influence how I feel about myself. There's a third video that I've posted, and I believe the title of it is, What Would Your Clutter Say About You? Because all of the things that we surround ourselves with, because if you look at it, when you surround yourself with friendships and relationships in your life, there's a saying that says you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And I believe if we take that idea and we flip it and we look at the things that we surround ourselves with, you can tell a lot about a person by what they keep, the things that they consume, the things that they purchase into. So what would your clutter or the things that you surround yourself with say about you? But then how do you feel about yourself if you didn't have those things? So it runs a lot deeper than just the physical, donating things that you're no longer wearing.
Good point, man. Good point. And man, now let's change our subject a little bit. Okay. Let's continue talking about, of course, you. But let's talk about veganism.
Oh, yeah.
The other day when we were having our previous conversation before this interview, you told me that you've been a vegan for around a year or so.
Yes. Yep. Close to.
And man, why did you decide to become a vegan? That's kind of extreme for a lot of people,
Right, it is. And a few reasons. One, it goes back to wanting to challenge myself again. I've always been a healthy person. I've been an athlete my entire life. I'm a runner. So I've been fairly healthy. I used to eat meat. I used to eat turkey, chicken, all of those different things like that. But as I learned more about the food industry that we take part in here in the United States, I've learned some things that were shocking to me. So personally, I wanted to make that shift just to see if I can challenge myself, to see if I can personally do it. It's helpful that my girlfriend also does it with me, so we have this support system between one another to stay encouraged as we're going through.
That's really important.
It definitely is. In anything that you do, you have to have that support system. But I think the real motivation for me for why I decided to do it was just to challenge myself, to see if I can really handle a change like that. And so far, it's shown a lot of positive benefits for me.
How has veganism, let's say, affected your life positively and negatively as well?
A positive thing that I've received from it was my awareness, my mental clarity, and my energy has increased. It sounds weird.
Is that real? Is that real?
Yeah. For me, I've definitely experienced it, because I was before I made the shift, I took a long break from writing my poetry. And just because I felt mentally clouded, I couldn't think of anything. I was feeling down a little bit, and my energy was always low. I was always tired. But then when I made the shift, and this kind of ties into the negative effect that I've had as well. When I made that shift, I decided to go cold turkey. I didn't make any type of transition. I just cut everything off and started from scratch. And if I can go back in time, I definitely would not do that, because my body went through a mini shock a little bit, just because it was so used to eating a certain way. And then overnight, I just stopped all of that. So that was the negative effect that I've had.
So I'd like you to give us some advice on the first steps that a person interested in becoming a minimalist should take.
Okay. I think there's one big step that you have to take before you dive into letting go of anything in your life. And you have to figure out your why. Why do you want to do this? What's driving you to do this? Because if you don't have a why, figuring out the how and staying motivated with the how is going to be extremely difficult to do. Anybody can get up and say, hey, I'm just going to donate some clothes in my closet today, and then you can fall off the wagon and not feel motivated to do it again. But when you have that why, when you have that center point for this is why I want to do this is why I want to let go of the things in my life, this is why I'm tired of having so much in my life, then that's going to kind of ground you, give you a place to center your thoughts, so that way you can stay motivated on the path that you're taking. So whenever you feel discouraged, whenever you fall off track and feel like you want to start collecting things again, you can come right back to your why. Okay, this is why I started this. Now let me think about what the deeper issue is for why I fell off the wagon to begin with. So the first step is definitely to figure out your why, and then do not do everything at once. Take your time. Your journey is going to be completely different than someone else's, and go at your own pace. Start to let go of things slowly as you build up the confidence and the understanding for yourself, then dive into it a little bit faster as you go on.
Man, amazing. Honestly,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I totally agree with you, because I think that what you have just said can be applicable not only in this context. For example, if a person wants to become a minimalist, of course, you need to take a step at a time. But man, everything in life, you have to keep in mind the reason why you have decided, of course, to follow a certain path, and because you have your destination. When you keep in mind the reason why you're on the road, I think, man, you're going to travel all the way through, man.
All the way through, and you're going to see it to the end goal. And that's important for anything that you set for yourself in life. Whatever goal you have, whatever dream you're chasing after, you have to have that why, because it's going to keep you mentally focused. And if you're mentally focused, then your physical actions are going to follow.
So, my friend, coming to the next question here, to the last question, in fact, how do you connect veganism, minimalism, and poetry?
Well, first, I want to say that all three of them are tools that I'm using in my life to challenge me and to personally express myself and to improve my life personally. I do want to say that poetry has always been a piece of my life. It started at a very young age, me expressing myself through journaling, and then that grew itself into poetry. So poetry has always been my way of self-expression to start. So that's always been a piece of me. Now, to answer how minimalism and veganism comes into play and how they're connected to everything, I kind of want to draw a mental visual for you here. If you think about a diagram, and in the center of that diagram, there's one circle. And breaking off from that circle, you have the lines and you have other bubbles that attach to that. In the center of that is you, and I call the center of that a deeper understanding of self. So when you reach that point, and this is what I was referring to when I said I let go of that whole nickname and persona that I was holding on to and wanted to reinvent myself and figure out who I am, what I value, and how I feel about myself outside of the physical things. So once I've reached that deeper understanding of self, that's where I am, that's where my poetry is, that's where my core is. And then branching off from that is everything else. It's the minimalism is attached to one side, veganism. It could be zero waste. It could be starting your own business. It could be whatever it is for you, starting a podcast. For example, for you could be teaching other students how to speak English. But once you reach that deeper understanding of self, you can choose to reach out and grab other things and pull them into your center bubble to be a part of your life and your journey. And so far, I've chosen to grab minimalism and veganism and pull it to my center circle. Now, there are other things that I want to grab and pull in as life goes on. But so far, that's what I've pulled into my center bubble from these branches that are stretching out from there.
Honestly, I loved this interview because I learned a lot from it. I'm 41 years old. You were 26 years old, but I learned a lot from you. Thank you very much, man, for sharing knowledge here with us. And thank you very much for helping me become a better person. Thank you.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Hearing that from you is inspiring and keeps me motivated on my own journey. I always mention that I'm learning still and I'm growing on this own journey of my own life right now as I'm communicating and sharing this content on YouTube, and knowing that I'm growing, and when others see that I'm also growing through this and learning through this, it creates this connection between us. And it feels almost as though we're friends, we're related, we're learning, we're growing together, and it makes it more enjoyable of an experience, both personally and as a community. So, I really appreciate the fact that you feel you can learn from me and feel inspired by me. And I'm learning from myself, and I'm learning from all of you as well, including yourself. So thank you.